Welcome back to PFDAuto. On this episode, we're going to install some parts finally. Let's see if we can't make this engine look a little bit more like an engine. Well, this is my haul that I've been keeping in the back, waiting for this to get finished. And I tell you what, I am sure tired of seeing this paper towel hanging out here, tape all over the engine. Yeah, we need to get mounts fixed up, probably some new bolts, things like that. But it's time to stop playing around. We can worry about looks once you have a running car. And this stuff is most of what we need to get it going. Now, the one thing I figured out over the last couple episodes is that I have no idea what I'm missing. So let's get this stuff on that thing. Then we can figure out what we need. Quit wasting all this time. Now, some of these are pretty gross. I do intend to clean most of this stuff up or maybe even replace it. I don't know what half of it is, but I'm going to write down all the part numbers I can find. And I'm also going to measure all of the bolts because I think I might do a stainless steel kit. This one's a little interesting. Kind of specialty looking bolt. Not sure if we need this extra length here, but we're going to reinstall it with it currently. Might have to swap that out. I think it might just make it easier to get to. You see, like, this has a seal on it. I'd like to replace that seal if at all possible. Might have to just replace the whole sensor. If that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to pop back in there. There we go. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to bring the bolt up tight. Makes the sensor not tight. I'm sure that's going to leak like a sieve. Well, I guess we didn't even need to take this off. This O-ring here is supposedly all we need. If it leaks, we'll take it back off and seal it up. Next up, we're going to take care of this. Just got it sitting here currently. But cleaned it all up, painted it all up. Now it's time to pull all this tape and bolt it back down. The question is, am I going to be able to find all the hardware? Here's where my complete lack of knowledge of the K-Series engine comes into play. Before I bonded this up and got it all stuck down, I figured I would toss in the bolts that I have. I found a bag labeled water pump bolts. Had this nut in it, had this one down here, this long bolt. There's still a hole for a bolt here. And as you can see, there ain't no way I can tighten that nut up. To tighten that up, I'm guessing there's some other housing that has to go on that first. I think I'm going to dig through some of the other stuff I've got, see if I can't find something that needs to attach there and there. See if I can make this work. Upon further inspection, I went back and looked at a earlier video. It's a JDM engine. Came with the JDM water pump housing. That's a USDM water pump housing. So we're going to pull this out. I'm going to double nut it and then find a bolt that'll fit in there. So I'm pretty sure I've showed you this before, but if you need to get a stud out, the best thing to do is take two nuts, tighten them both together, then hopefully you can rotate the stud out. Now let's see. The stud wants to come out. Looks like it's gonna spin out nice and easy for us. So now what I'm gonna do is measure this distance, and then I'll measure this distance, and then hopefully find a bolt that adds both of those up. I mean, in all reality, it doesn't need threads to here. I only need threads on this part of the bolt. But if it's threaded all the way through, it won't matter. Then we can get this bonded up. I might see if I have 2 bolts. I don't need this sticking out either, but it's not hurting anything. So if I can only find one, I'm fine with that. Let me show you what I'm fighting here. Well, I hope I don't need these hooks. This one has 2. This one's got 1 broke off. I don't know. I don't think anything hangs out from underneath it, but I need to get these tightened down, these tightened down, which appear to be about the same length. Then I need to get this one tightened down, which doesn't really exist here. It goes all the way there. And then I've got this big long one here, which is exactly the opposite there. So you figured I could just swap them out, but no. This one is a much narrower housing than that one. So that bolt I'll have to find. I think I've got a solution for now. I think what I'm going to do, just to get this gummed up, is throw about 47 washers on a bolt that's too long and tighten it down. Now these 2 bolts, interestingly enough, you'd figure I'd have 2. But I don't. I have 1. There's a stud that goes through this one, and a long bolt that goes through this one. Now, you'd guess that long bolt would be just fine going through here, which it is. Not a problem. But this bolt, I don't have that bolt. So my thought is, instead of just discarding this stud, I'm going to drop that stud in that hole, have a stud here and here, use that bolt up top, and use this one with 47 washers in the right to get it stuck down until I can get the right bolt. I've ordered this bolt, but it won't be here till tomorrow. I called around and nobody carries that particular size. In case you're wondering, that would be an M10 1.25 and 55 mil. So I'm going to spin this guy in, hope that it works. Got the other stud here, long bolt, wrong bolt. Let's see how it goes. It appears as if my hodgepodge is going to work. I tested this bolt. It's nice and tight. This one comes up tight. This one should work just fine. The threads go past the hole, so the nut should go on there. And that one's where it was supposed to be to begin with. So now I'm going to throw some Honda Bond on the block, and then I'm going to try to get this bolted on so we can finally make some progress. Got my legit Honda Bond. I'm just going to go ahead, put a little coat on all the edges, including this guy here. Not 100% sure that's what I'm supposed to do, but I pulled Honda Bond off of all of that, so it's going back on. So now I'm just going to make sure I've got a good coat. And we'll slide that housing on. Well, that was a lot more work than it should have been. But now we can move on. These bolts are going to hold this stuff so tight, I'm not worried about this bond coming loose or anything like that. Next up, we're going to figure out what's next. This is just painful. So I got this bag marked alternator, which had my alternator bolts in it, and it had this long guy in there, and this one short guy in there. So I grabbed my alternator out, and I've got one hole, kind of a long way to go. Then I've got these other two holes, and this bolt way too short. This bolt, too big around. This is an 8-hole. This is a 10 bolt. So it turns out the alternator is different for the US market, and the bolts that hold the alternator in are also different. So let me see if I can scrounge up some bolts for this and pretend to get it installed. Well, the alternator's installed even though I don't have this bolt. I went ahead and did the right thing and just drove these two guys home. That one. They're here at the bottom. This bolt I'll go get. And I'll tighten that up. But I'm not letting it stop me today. I've got some more things to install, and I'm gonna. So now we're getting into the kind of cool stuff. Custom stuff. Since we're moving stuff around, including this power steering pump, which actually is off of a Miata, not a Mercedes or a Honda, I had to buy an adapter plate. Got this one from K-Power. It is pretty slick. That is, if it all bolts up. Not 100% sure. I also got this AN adapter for the power steering pump, since I intend to run AN lines for everything I can in here. And I got a concentric pulley for tensioning. So we're going to try to get this bolted up. It came with bolts. Let's hope they're all the right ones. Well, I found no instructions, so I'm going to make my best guess, because that's what we do. A few more bolts. I've got two long ones. This one, which I'm guessing maybe goes here. That's not threaded. Maybe it is. That must be for the pulley. These three bolts must be for these three holes here. 1, 2, 3. This thing sure looks cool. I'm guessing this one faces out, because it's got all the cool writing on it. It's sure marred on the inside. That's kind of a bummer. It says that it goes here. That looks like it would line up. And like a washer or two and a lock washer would fit nicely. But man, this bolt is long. I just have trouble believing that that bolt threads in that far. Well, after putting my own washer there, and there, using my own bolt here, and moving the washers to one behind, one in front, and the lock washer, the only logical thing I could think of, hoping these line up. Won't know until we try. But I was able to tighten that down. So now you can see that's nice and tight. And if you loosen this up, well, that, then you can move this around, change your tension. How the heck you do that and don't adjust it the wrong way? I guess you'd bring this all the way around and just tighten it and it'll bring it tight. But it spins nice. Everything appears to be lining up. But again, we won't know till we try. Well, it would appear that my crank bolt is MIA. And probably should get a new one anyways. Hopefully I can find it though, because the key was in it. Otherwise I'll have to find a new one of those. Anyways, still got more to do. Need to build this guy out and get it in the car also. Now it came with a full bolt kit. I have no idea where the bolt kit's at. We're going to use what we got, but at least we're going to build this guy out today and see how far we can get. Maybe I can find the bolt kit. I don't know. I don't know if I lost it or if I just didn't get it, but we're going to try. Anyways, what do we got here? We've got, first up, K-Power cast intake manifold. This seems to be the go-to, kind of run-of-the-mill. It's what everybody's got. It's supposed to have a lot of low-end torque. That's what I'm hoping for. We've got the idle air control block-off plate. We've got the K-Power fuel rail. We've got a Bosch 74 millimeter throttle body. Probably should have taken it out of the bag. You need another one of these. It turns out I already had one for a Mercedes that I was working on. So hit me up. You need a 74 millimeter throttle body. Both are brand new. Same part number. Then I've got my adapter plate. This guy. 3D printed. O-rings on both sides. Don't want to stay in. Bolts to the front of this. Allows me to connect that throttle body. Also picked up a fuel lab. Fuel pressure regulator. Now some people say don't bolt it to the fuel rail. It is a tiny bit heavy. And I'm considering not bolting it to the fuel rail. But a lot of stuff says to bolt it to the fuel rail. Anyways, this is a mock-up. If I'm doing it wrong, let me know. I'll move it. Heard it can vibrate, cause problems, fuel leaks, fires, all that good stuff. But for now, we're going to mock it up onto the fuel rail. Also got fuel pressure gauge. So let's see what happens. I guess first up, though, let's get this block-off plate installed because you gotta turn this upside down to do it. It's got a little mall gasket that comes with it. So also not knowing anything, I'm guessing this is for a intake air temperature sensor. Looks like all the rest of the holes are blocked off except for that one. No idea what that's for. So, if you know what I'm supposed to put in here, whether they're plugs or sensors, let me know. Because, again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I thought I did, but I've been proving myself wrong over and over again. Now this is going to be the fun part. Because this has to go in here. Alright, so this is, again, educated guess, but I've managed to get the O-ring setting in here. And I'm looking at here, and they've got some grooves in here. So I started these two bolts. Now this only goes on one direction. Doesn't seem there's any other way that these bolts line up. So once you get those kind of in the right place, you can start to tighten those down. Drop your other two bolts in. Tighten them up. And I've been told, do not over tighten these. Because you'll break this. Because it's only 3D printed. So I'm just going to tighten it from the top of the wrench. As tight as I can get it, because there is an O-ring there. It's leaking air. We'll come back and tighten it up. Let me show you what I'm working with here, so you can share in my frustration. Or you can laugh at me, tell me I'm an idiot. But if you tell me I'm an idiot, tell me why. So no matter how I try to put this O-ring in, it pops out somewhere else. If I hold it in, pops out over here, pops out there. Oh my God, I got the O-ring on. Now let's see if we can get these bolts in before it comes loose. I'm guessing, yeah, I definitely didn't bring the right tools for this. Oh, what a task. Those O-rings are impossible to get at. There's got to be a better way. Let's see if this even fits on the car, or if we have to get the bolt kit. Just got a factory intake manifold gasket here. Say it's the best one to use. It's on there nicely. All right. I'm about 90% sure I bought a bolt kit for this, at least brand new factory hardware. But of course, I have no idea where it's at. That one's gone. There we go. That looks like fuel rail. This is starting to look like an engine. I mean, water pump, only a couple of bolts, tensioner pulley, alternator, power steering pump, throttle body, fuel rail, fuel injectors. I'm liking it, and lots of room. Still tons of room. We got to sneak in here, do water pump stuff. We've got the water neck bolt onto the back of there. That's why we just kind of almost tighten that down. We probably got to pull it back off of there again. But I'm digging it. Look at that. Starting to look like an engine. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode. We actually made some pretty good progress. We definitely need to get some more bolts and figure some more things out, but look, starting to look like an engine. I'll put that bolt information in the description, so if you're switching from a JDM water pump housing to a USDM one, you won't have to figure it all out like I did. That said, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions, any comments, any ideas on what I did wrong, how I could do it better, drop them below in the comments for me. I'd really appreciate it. If you enjoy watching me struggle, give the video a like. And we'll see you next time on PFDAuto.